I have been married to my wife, Lena, for 6 years. We met in college. She was smart, funny, had that kind of confidence that just drew people in. I was the quiet one, the good guy. Everyone said we balanced each other out. For a while, it felt like we really did. We bought a house, adopted a dog, did all the perfect couple things people post on Instagram. But over the past year, something changed. It started small. She got distant, stopped asking about my day, spent more time working late or meeting up with friends. I didn't think much of it at first. She worked in marketing, and it wasn't unusual for her to have long hours or networking events. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. Then came the attitude shifts. Every little thing I said seemed to annoy her. If I asked when she'd be home, I was being controlling. If I mentioned that she'd been glued to her phone, she'd roll her eyes and tell me I was paranoid. It was like she'd turned into a completely different person. Short-tempered, sarcastic, dismissive. The weirdest part? She suddenly became obsessed with her appearance. New clothes, new perfume, started hitting the gym 5 times a week. She said she just wanted to feel confident again. And I believed her, because why wouldn't I? She's my wife. Looking back, the signs were all there. But when you love someone, you don't want to see it. You tell yourself they're just stressed, that you're imagining things, that it'll get better. I had no idea then how wrong I was, or how deep the betrayal would cut once I finally saw the truth for what it was.
It all started with her phone. Of course it did. Lena had always been pretty private with her phone, but lately it was like she guarded it with her life. She'd take it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. If I so much as glanced in its direction, she'd flip it over or shove it in her pocket. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was planning a surprise for my birthday or something. Yeah, wishful thinking. One night she said she was going out with her work friends for a networking dinner. I offered to drive her, but she said she'd already arranged a ride. That set off a small alarm bell in my head, but I told myself not to be crazy. She left around 7 p.m., dressed way nicer than usual. New dress, heels, the perfume she used to wear when we first started dating. Something about it just didn't sit right. I tried to distract myself with a game, but after an hour of staring blankly at the screen, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then, like fate, she forgot her iPad at home. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. But a notification popped up. A text from someone named L. I didn't recognize the name, but the preview said, "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby." My heart just stopped. I opened the message thread, and that's when the world kind of collapsed around me. There were dozens of messages, weeks' worth of conversations, flirty texts, late-night "I miss you" messages, even photos. I felt like someone had punched me straight in the gut. It wasn't just that she was cheating, it was how effortlessly she lied. She'd told me she was exhausted from work the night before, but apparently she was in a hotel room with this guy, sending him selfies in the same outfit she wore home. And the kicker? The guy wasn't even some stranger. He was her boss. I remember sitting there on the couch, iPad in my hands, just staring at the screen while my brain tried to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. I didn't cry right away. I think I was too numb. I screenshotted everything, every text, every picture, every detail. I knew I'd need it later because something in me snapped that night. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me out of the truth. I waited for her to come home, replaying every lie in my head. Every time she'd said she loved me. Every, "You're just insecure." I stayed up, lights off, heart pounding, rehearsing what I'd say when she walked through that door. When I finally heard the car pull into the driveway, I knew. This was it. The moment everything changed. She came in around midnight, laughing, like she'd just had the best night of her life. Her heels clicked across the floor, and I could smell that perfume before I even saw her, the same one she used to wear when she wanted to drive me crazy. "Hey," I said from the couch. My voice came out quieter than I expected, almost too calm. She froze mid-step, clearly not expecting me to be awake. "Oh, hey, you scared me." I just looked at her. "How was dinner?" She blinked, fake smile still plastered on her face. "Good. Long. You know how these networking things are. Boring as hell." I nodded slowly. "Boring, huh? Tell me, did Elle find it boring too?" That wiped the smile right off her face. Her expression went blank, pure panic for half a second before she caught herself. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, suddenly defensive. I held up her iPad. "I'm talking about this, about your texts, about you calling your boss baby. Want me to read a few out loud?" Her whole demeanor shifted. "Oh my God, are you seriously snooping through my stuff now? Do you even hear how insane that sounds?" That's when I realized she wasn't going to apologize, she was going to gaslight. "Don't," I said, standing up. "Don't do that thing where you make me the bad guy. I saw everything, Lena. The messages, the hotel, I even have screenshots. So don't you dare tell me I'm imagining things." She crossed her arms, voice icy. "Fine. You want the truth? Yeah, I've been seeing him, but only because you've been so checked out lately. You never listen to me anymore. You don't make me feel wanted. And honestly, I didn't even know if you cared." It was like she'd rehearsed that line. The arrogance in her tone made my stomach turn. "So your solution," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "was to sleep with your boss?" She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't act like you're perfect. You've been distant too. We were basically roommates and I needed something." Something inside me broke right then. Not anger, not even sadness, just this heavy, hollow sense of finality. I realized the person I'd built my life around didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. When she saw that I wasn't yelling, wasn't crying, just standing there quiet, she started to panic a little. "Look, it didn't mean anything, okay? It's over now. Can we please just move past this?" "Over?" I laughed, this short, humorless laugh that didn't even sound like me. "You think you can just erase this?" She started crying then, big fake tears, saying I was throwing everything away over one mistake. But I didn't buy it, not after all the lies. That night I didn't sleep. She went to the guest room and I just sat there on the couch with the iPad beside me, staring at the wall until the sun came up. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen.
The morning after the confrontation felt like waking up in someone else's life. The house was the same, coffee maker humming, dog whining for breakfast, but everything felt different. It was like the air had turned heavy overnight. Lena came into the kitchen wearing her robe, acting like we'd just had a minor argument about laundry or something. "Can we talk?" she asked, all soft and teary-eyed. I didn't even look up from my mug. "About what? You already said it all last night." She sighed dramatically, like I was the one being unreasonable. "I messed up, okay? But you're not innocent here either. You've been distant for months. I felt invisible, and he was there for me. It just happened." That line, "it just happened," nearly made me laugh again. Like she'd tripped and fallen into her boss's bed. I said, "It didn't just happen. You made choices. Every text, every lie, every time you came home and kissed me goodnight after being with him, those were choices." She didn't like that. Her face hardened. So what now? You gonna throw everything away because your pride's hurt? Pride. That's what she thought this was about. Not betrayal, not broken trust, not the fact that she'd been living a double life right under my nose, just my pride. I told her I needed space, and that she should stay with her sister for a few days. She protested, said it would make things worse if we didn't talk it out, but I wasn't budging. I think she realized I wasn't playing the doormat role anymore. When she finally packed a bag, she slammed the door on her way out. The dog jumped, and I just stood there in the silence that followed, the kind of silence that screams louder than any argument ever could. That's when the emotional flood hit. Everything I'd been holding back the night before came pouring out. The anger, the heartbreak, the humiliation. I felt sick. Literally sick, like my body was rejecting everything I thought I knew about my life. I went through the house and started noticing things I hadn't before. Her perfume still in the air. The wine glasses in the sink from when she said she was too tired to go out. Lies. All of it. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus. I just kept replaying everything in my head. Every time she smiled at her phone, every "I love you" that suddenly felt scripted. And the worst part? I still missed her. Even knowing what she'd done, there was this pathetic part of me that wanted her to walk back in and say it was all a mistake. That's the cruel thing about love. It doesn't just switch off when it should. That day, I started making copies of the screenshots and backing everything up. I didn't know if I was heading toward divorce yet, but I knew I needed to protect myself. By that evening, she was already texting me. "Can we please talk like adults? You're being cold. You're not the only one who's hurt here." That last message made my blood boil. I didn't reply. I just turned off my phone, poured myself a drink, and tried to breathe.
By day 3 of her being gone, I thought I'd start to feel better. I didn't. The house was quiet, too quiet, and everything I looked at reminded me of her. Her hair tie on the counter, her mug beside the sink, even the stupid candles she loved that I used to complain about. Too strong, I'd say. Now smelled like a ghost. I wasn't eating much, just surviving on coffee and the occasional sandwich. My friends started to notice something was off. One of them, Jake, came over after work. He's one of those no-nonsense types who says what everyone else won't. When I told him everything, he just shook his head and said, "Man, she's been lying to you for months. You got to stop giving her the benefit of the doubt. People like that don't change." It hit hard, but he was right. Later that night, my curiosity got the better of me, and I did something I'm not proud of. I checked her Instagram. She hadn't posted anything new, but I noticed her boss, the guy, had made his account public. I don't know what I was looking for, maybe just proof that it was really over like she'd claimed. But no, there it was. A photo from the weekend before the confrontation. Him at a bar, and in the corner of the mirror behind him, I saw her reflection. Same outfit, same earrings she wore that night she said she was out with coworkers. My stomach turned. So much for "it's over." That was the breaking point. I took off my wedding ring and put it in a drawer. It felt symbolic, like a final acknowledgement that whatever we had was dead. The next day, Lena showed up at the house unannounced. She must have thought some space would soften me up. She looked put together. Too put together, honestly. Makeup, fresh blowout, like she was playing the role of the heartbroken wife. She said, "I've been thinking a lot, and I want to fix this. I made a mistake, but I still love you." I told her I saw the photo. Her eyes widened for a second, then narrowed. "You're stalking him now. That's pathetic." I actually laughed. Like, what kind of mental gymnastics was this woman doing? "You're cheating on me with your boss, and I'm the pathetic one?"
She started crying again, saying I was twisting things, that it wasn't what it looked like, that she was just there to talk. Talk in a bar mirror? At midnight? In the same outfit you wore when you told me you were working late? She didn't have an answer for that. Just silence. Then she snapped, "You're never going to let this go, are you? You're just going to keep punishing me." "Maybe I wouldn't have to if you hadn't lied every step of the way," I said. That's when she threw the ultimate guilt card. "I guess I made a mistake loving someone who can't forgive." And with that, she stormed out, slammed the door again, like she was the one who'd been wronged. After she left, I didn't even feel anger anymore. Just this weird calm. The kind of calm that comes when you finally realize you're done trying to fix something that was already broken. That night, I called a lawyer.
The lawyer I talked to was blunt. And honestly, that's what I needed. He didn't sugarcoat it. After hearing everything, he said, "You've got more than enough evidence to file for divorce. Keep everything documented. Don't contact her boss directly. Let me handle the legal side." It was surreal. Divorce. The word felt heavy, foreign, like it belonged to someone else's life. But as he talked, I realized something. I'd already lost my marriage months ago. I was just now catching up to it. When I told Lena I'd spoken to a lawyer, she lost it. Full meltdown. First, she tried the guilt route. "You're really gonna destroy our marriage over one mistake?" Then came the denial. "You're overreacting. We can go to therapy." And when none of that worked, she flipped to anger. "Oh, so you're perfect? You think divorcing me makes you the victim? Everyone's going to see what kind of man you really are." That last line stung, not because it was true, but because it showed how little she cared about what we had. Her biggest concern was her image. The next few days were pure chaos. She kept calling, texting, begging one minute and raging the next. My phone was lighting up constantly. "You'll regret this. You're throwing your life away. Please, I can fix this. I hate you for doing this to us." It was like watching a storm spin itself out, unpredictable and exhausting. Then one night I got a text from an unknown number. It was her boss. "I'm sorry about what happened. I didn't mean to cause trouble." I almost threw my phone across the room. "Didn't mean to cause trouble? You slept with a married woman. What did you think would happen?" I didn't respond, forwarded it to my lawyer, and blocked the number. The next morning, Lena showed up again, this time crying for real. No makeup, no performance, just a wreck. She said she'd been suspended from work. Apparently, HR got wind of the affair. She looked up at me through tears and said, "I lost everything because of this. Please, don't make me lose you too." And for a second, a small, stupid second, I felt sorry for her, because I remembered the girl I fell in love with before all of this. But then I looked at her and all I saw was someone who burned our life down and handed me the ashes. "I didn't make you lose anything," I said quietly. "You did that on your own." She sobbed harder, said she didn't know who she was anymore, that she hated herself. I just stood there, numb. There was nothing left to say. That night, I officially filed the paperwork. It wasn't dramatic, no music, no tears. Just me at the kitchen table signing my name on a stack of documents that ended 6 years of marriage. And weirdly, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully.
The days after filing felt like the calm after a hurricane. Everything was still, but nothing was whole. Lena moved out officially 2 weeks later. She came by with her sister to grab her things. I stayed out of her way, sitting in the living room while they packed. I didn't say much, and she didn't either. The silence between us was thick, filled with everything we'd never fix. The only time she spoke directly to me was when she stopped by the door on her way out. She said, "I really hope you can forgive me one day." I didn't respond, because forgiveness wasn't the issue anymore. Trust was. And once that's gone, there's nothing left to rebuild. After she left, I did what most guys do after something like this. I tried to fill the silence. I started running again, picked up old hobbies, went out with friends more, but no matter what I did, there were moments when the memories would hit, out of nowhere. Like passing by our favorite restaurant and remembering how she used to reach across the table for my hand, or scrolling through old photos and realizing how convincing her smiles were, even when she was lying straight to my face. One night, I caught myself going through her old messages again, the ones I'd saved for the divorce. I read them differently this time, though. I wasn't looking for answers. I was looking for closure. And what I saw wasn't love. It was manipulation. She'd played both sides. Sweet texts to me, flirty messages to him, like she was living two different lives. And for the first time, instead of pain, I just felt relief. Relief that I wasn't part of that world anymore. Still, healing wasn't linear. Some days I felt strong, like I was finally moving on. Other days I'd wake up and feel that familiar emptiness, the kind that hits before you even open your eyes. I started therapy after a friend pushed me into it. Best decision I ever made. The therapist said something that stuck with me. You didn't lose your wife. You lost the idea of who you thought she was. That line hit like a ton of bricks, because that's exactly what it was. I'd been mourning a version of Lena that only existed in my head. The woman I married wouldn't have done what she did, but the woman she became absolutely would. By the time the divorce was finalized, I stopped checking her socials. I didn't care what she was doing anymore. Whether she was with him, alone, trying to rebuild, none of it mattered. I was done living in her shadow. I took my ring to a pawn shop a week later, got barely anything for it, but it felt symbolic, like closing a chapter. I used the money to take a weekend trip alone, first one in years. No phone, no reminders, just me and a quiet lake somewhere outside the city. For the first time in forever, I felt peaceful. Not happy yet, but getting there.
It's been almost a year since everything blew up, and I can finally say this without bitterness. I'm glad it happened. Don't get me wrong, it was hell. The kind of heartbreak that eats you alive from the inside out. But it also forced me to grow in ways I never would have otherwise. I learned what I will and won't tolerate. I learned that trust isn't something you give blindly. It's something you protect carefully. And I learned that sometimes losing someone is the only way to find yourself again. Looking back, I can see how long I'd been settling for less. I thought loyalty meant forgiving everything, swallowing every doubt, pretending things were fine just to keep the peace. But real loyalty doesn't mean letting someone destroy your peace while you stay quiet. Lena tried reaching out once more, months after the divorce. She sent this long, emotional message about how she'd grown, how she'd been to therapy, how she missed the person she was with me. I didn't reply. Because that person she missed, the one who believed her lies, doesn't exist anymore. Now, my life is quieter, simpler. I spend more time with people who actually give a damn. I picked up guitar again, started hiking on weekends, even adopted another dog. There are moments when I still feel lonely, sure, but it's peaceful loneliness, not that suffocating kind that comes from being with the wrong person. If anyone reading this is going through something similar, here's what I'll say. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let anyone convince you that your instincts are paranoia. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And if you ever find yourself begging for honesty in a relationship, it's already over. Cheating isn't just about sex. It's about lies, disrespect, and the quiet moments they steal from you without you even realizing it. But here's the thing.
You will survive it. You'll rebuild. One slow, painful piece at a time, until one day you wake up and realize you're no longer surviving, you're actually living again. I'm not angry anymore. Not even at her. Because she showed me exactly who she was. And in doing that, she reminded me who I am. So yeah, that's my story. It's messy, it's painful, but it's real. And if it helps even one person out there trust themselves a little more, then it was worth sharing. My wife cheated with her boss, lied through her teeth, and tried to make me feel crazy for noticing. I confronted her, filed for divorce, went through hell, and came out better for it. Losing her was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and the best.